I just feel like there's a lot of content out there on just how to make friends. But sometimes we fail to realize that there may be oppositions. There may be things that you're just going through in life. And there may be even distractions, or which sometimes we will plant as excuses, but sometimes it's not always excuses. But I just want to recognize that and just do a video on that. So if you're trying to make friends in your 30s, but you sometimes feel too tired, too busy, too awkward, too late to start fresh, this video is for you. For you. Okay. So I want you to ask yourself a few questions before we get into this. Am I giving friendships a fair chance? Right? Am I giving friendships a fair chance? Am I giving myself a fair chance? And am I giving people a fair chance? And am I unintentionally sabotaging connection? So we're going to be touching on all these things because let's face it. Yes, adult friendships do take a lot of effort. As you'll know, if you're in your 30s and you had to rebuild again, you'll quickly learn, oh, this takes more effort than it did maybe when you're in high school or, in elementary school or, back in the day when you just go outside and all you had to do is you just make friends by just stepping foot on the sidewalk and just start playing and start skipping rope and start like using chalk to create like, the little, the hopscotch games, right? But you'll quickly see like sometimes people can get busy with jobs, life, kids. Maybe there's health, family stuff going on. Because let's face it, like a lot of the times, like personal life is not always perfect, right? And that's unfortunate. Like you'll quickly learn like personal life is never perfect. Um, and sometimes that could even get in the way of you making friends, or if you have a lot of health issues. Like I've seen people where they had health issues, and sometimes they even have to cancel going to an event because they're going through a lot of pain in their body and whatever. And then they get frustrated because they're like, well, I'm going through all these sicknesses and healing, and I'm going through things in my body, whatever, mentally, physically, and I can't go to these things. And then work, right? Like especially if you work irregular hours. So if you don't work the typical 9 to 5, which okay, like people still make excuses when it comes to friendships with that. But if you work especially irregular hours, like I'm speaking to you guys, I see you guys, and you work in the evenings or you usually work on a Saturday night, right? It's extra hard to make friends, if you're working those type of hours. Um, and I've seen people get super frustrated because they're like, well, I work every Saturday and I can't meet you that day. And that's sometimes the most of the time. That's when people want to meet, and sometimes that can suck, right? And so we're not going to ignore that part. When it comes to making friends when you're tired, busy, and starting fresh, like there's obstacles sometimes that can happen. Um, but hey, but we also want to be careful of constantly telling ourselves that like we want to be careful of constantly telling ourselves like it's hard to make friends, and we're iterating that story and saying it's hard to make friends, it's hard to make friends, because it creates this limiting belief where the more you believe that, then the more you believe that, the more it kind of makes you want to not take action, if that makes sense. So it kind of makes you not feel hopeful. And then because you keep on telling yourself, oh, well, it's hard to make friends. In your mind, you're like, well, what's the point of putting effort in it if I'm not making friends? Like, if it's hard to make friends. Um, and what the shift that you want to say is I'm learning how to build friendships with intention, right? Like, that is the goal is you want to shift that mindset and say, okay, I know it's possible to make friends because people are doing it every day. Okay. People are doing this all the time. They're making friends. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think what the difference is they're going in with intention. Hey Claudine. Hope I said your name right. Claudiane, actually. That's a nice name. Claudiane. How are you? How was your day? But yeah, so and I think that's the difference when I see like people making friends is that they stay open. I think that's so key. Is just staying open. And they don't really have a wall. They don't already have a preconceived notion of how the friendship is going to go, how it's going to happen. They're not already creating the story before the story already unfolds, right? And I think this is what's going into our first point here is your mindset about friendships matter. Um, I believe everything you're saying, but what if you actually feel like your brain will let you in a way because it acts out and embarrasses you when talking with new people? My question with you for you, and I'm not invalidating this. Like it's completely valid. That's a valid question, especially if you're not good with like speaking with people. Um, is are you really embarrassing yourself though? I'm wondering what has made you feel like you were embarrassing yourself when you're talking with people. Because sometimes like how do I say this? I'm trying to say it in the right way, but like I'm just gonna say it like sometimes we can feel like we're embarrassing ourselves, but we're not. Like we're just being ourselves and people may like it. So I'm curious to know like what you have felt in the past. Like give me an example. It doesn't have to get too personal, but like what have you felt in the past where you're like, oh, but like I'm embarrassing myself when I talk to new people. Because I think it's completely normal for it to feel awkward when you're talking to someone new, when you're meeting someone new. Um and also I think it's also about reading the room. Like I'm very social. I'm a very social person. And I could tell you like sometimes I'm awkward too because also it depends on how the other person reacts and accepts you. When you're introducing yourself. So like about 2 weekends ago, I went to an outside festival and I met these two girls. Like we're all jamming. It was a bunch of women, men, whatever. And I just started talking. She won a prize, and I turned to her and said, "Oh, like, do you actually have a vinyl reader?" So you know the vinyls, like now they sell those like records, like the vinyls, the actual vinyls. And I just started turned to her and asked her that because I was just curious. And I did start talking with her, but I started to notice like yes, I was friendly. You like yes, we got numbers, we exchanged Instagrams, but it was still like I could still feel like they're a little bit uncomfortable. So that's when I kind of like left it. Now there was like we had some commonalities, right? And the things that like we like watching live music. So I did text her maybe once and told her about the event. But after that I left it alone. And I think it's important to read the room. But I do believe with the right people you can be yourself and you can be stuttering and everything. Like sometimes I don't get it right when I talk to new people, right? Hold on, I'm just going to the comments here. But I think too, like even just I think even when you're meeting new people, just keeping it simple. But I don't think you're really embarrassing yourself. I think it's in your head. Um, because like I just don't think that, but I think like even just having a simple conversation, like it's like how I turned to her and said, "Hey, do you have a vinyl like record? Like you know the record to like read the actual vinyl." Like it was as simple as that. Like yes, maybe it was awkward. I probably was awkward, but sometimes it just starts with a simple question and you try to have the conversation. But if it's too hard, you leave it alone. Like listen, guys, we don't have to force anything. We don't have to force chemistry, in friendships just like if you're dating someone, like you're not trying to force that chemistry. You're not trying to force that person to like you. Like you're just being yourself. And if you guys don't connect, you don't connect. So if you feel like the new people that you're talking to doesn't connect with you, leave it alone. Like Don't even embrace don't think too strong about it, because a lot of people go through their own things, like I mentioned, or they may have their own thing going on or their own insecurities. And most of the time, it's never about you. I will tell you that. Like those girls, when they're all awkward, they just say like they're very camera shy, whatever. And I left it alone. Like that's on them. But like your only goal is to just be yourself. And if you feel like, oh, I need to get better speaking with people because it's an absolute like what's the word? It's absolutely holding you back. Then there's a lot of options out there where you can do improv classes, or you can go on videos like this, like create a private group on Facebook, like with no one in there. Just create a group for yourself and just go in front of the camera like this and start talking, start having a conversation. Or if you have to, write out a script. Like believe it or not, these things work. Like saying, oh, like practicing icebreakers. Hey, how are you? Like, what do you do? Or like, what's your favorite color? I'm just giving an example, but it's maybe having different scripts and then you practice it at home. Like that's something I used to do when I wanted to set boundaries. Like when I had a hard time saying no, I would literally create scripts in my head and just start reciting it in the house. Like it's a like I don't want to say it's as simple as that because I know it's practice, but like it could be as easy as that. But improv classes will help you so much. Like, I've seen a lot of people who have a lot of like anxiety or they're very introverted do improv classes, and it helps them so much because you learn to just not take life seriously. You learn to just be positive, and I think that maybe that's to answer your question is like you learn to not take life seriously. You learn not to take it too harsh. Like if a conversation is awkward, so what? So what? I've grown up with my mom not necessarily telling me that I'm being bullied, but there are bullies out there. So I'm buried. I've buried myself. I'm very introverted. Yeah. I'm so sorry you've been through that. But don't bury yourself. Don't bury yourself because there's people out there that will bring that introvert out of you. Do you know how many introverts? I actually meet a lot of I seem to attract introverts. And I actually have a few friends like that where they're very quiet, but you'll never know. Because then when they talk to me, like we have a full on conversation, but they're really introverted. And the only way I know this is when I invite them in front of like a group of friends. And then I'll be like, oh, why are they so quiet? In my head, I'll be like, why are they so quiet? And then I realize, oh my God, they're introverted. But then I don't know this because when they're with me, they're talking normally, right? So you may meet the right person, Killer Stone, where I don't know your real name, so sorry, that's what I'm calling you. Killer Stone, you may meet the right person who just brings out your personality. Like it's just all about meeting the right friend. And I think sometimes we forget that where we think like, oh, if I meet a person and I want to be friends with them, like that's it. Like it's like no, you still have to connect with them. Your friend should be bringing the best out of you, even if you're introverted, because I can tell you, just from like having friends who are introverted, it's just you need to meet someone that brings you out your shell, the right person. And then doing the things I mentioned, like the improv and all that stuff. Hey Rosalina, I'm just not at was speaking good at speaking with people. I feel like they're gonna make fun of me. And, no, they're not. No, 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 no. Jolani, is that how you pronounce it? They're not. They're not. And then that's another thing too. Is like that's what this point was like changing your mindset, right? And so it's just very true, and it sounds harsh, but it's like what the story that you're telling yourself, right? Like oh, like I believe like if I speak with people, they're gonna make fun of me. Like it's not true. It's just a story you're telling yourself. Because in reality, like no one's like pointing at people, especially if you're an adult. Like no one's pointing at someone and just making fun of them. Yes, there's mean people. But in reality, most people are very open to wanting to speak with people, especially if you're in the right environment. But it's like the question you have to ask yourself is do you believe that friendship is possible for you? Do you believe that people would enjoy knowing you? Right, and I think that's the part that's kind of like you're kind of like iffy about, but those are the first things you have to believe. Like you need to find some evidence in the past where you've seen people actually enjoy being in your company, because it's like if you carry those beliefs with you, it starts to just fester everywhere else. It's just how it works. It goes from the internal and then it gets out everywhere else. It's just how it is. Like I wish there was like a better way, but it's just the way it is. And so that's something that you have to work on believing. Or speaking it even if you don't believe it, because we spend so much time speaking negative words over ourselves. So why not just speak positive words over ourselves? Right? So like limiting thoughts, like common limiting thoughts. I had it actually in my notes was like you're saying like, oh, like people may not like me, people may be too busy, I'm too old or too young, or I don't know where to meet people, or I'm too introverted, or something like that. Like you're telling these common limiting beliefs, um, and they will stop you. Like they'll just stop you from moving forward. It would stop you from making new friends because you constantly feel like you're basically imperfect. Now, I know we're not perfect, but it's like going in with that like thought of, oh, like no one likes me, and then I understand like it's hurtful, like because probably it's past experiences, because I've experienced that too, where I'm like, oh, like maybe they don't like my personality, but then the more I started getting on my shell and just talking with people, because I used to have that type of, I actually used to think like that too, believe it or not, because sometimes friendships break apart, and the first thing you'll do is you'll start to look here, hey, 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 right? The first thing you do is you start to look inside here, and you're like, what's wrong with me? Right? Um, but we have to realize like a lot of times it's never about you. And a lot of times, even if it was about you, it doesn't end there. You always have chances to learn from like, what you did in the past and then move forward. But the biggest thing is not carrying that weight of constantly thinking like, oh, no one likes you, or I always mess up talking when I'm speaking with people. I don't know how to speak perfectly. Perfectly, no one has to speak perfectly. I don't even speak perfectly. Sometimes I'm awkward too. But it's like we just have to learn to move forward, and just be open to the people that want you in their space. I think that's so key. I think we spend so much time sometimes wanting to be around people who don't want us in their space, and that's where it gets harder. And that's something that I deal with every day, where I have to keep on, like, when I see a friendship doesn't work out or it's no longer the same as is, I have to usually walk myself through it and be like, okay, I'm recognizing that it's no longer where I want it to be, but I'm not forcing it. Like you could only do so much, right? But the important thing is that you're not letting past pains close you off to future connections, right? And you're not you and because there may be missed opportunities around you that you may be like missing because you already have these preconceived stories about yourself, right? um Hold on. So the next point is like, are you giving people a fair chance? And then we talked a little bit about this. It's like not all friendships start with instant chemistry, right? Not all friendship starts with great conversation. Sometimes it's gonna start with like small conversations, or maybe a repeated interaction. And I can agree to this because some of my recent friends that I met now that I'm kind of currently developing was I met them multiple times at like different events, and the more we saw each other, there was like a bond connecting. And so I could completely agree with this. Like sometimes it's a repeated connection. It's like one day, it's that one date that you start to meet, where you meet, like you plan something intentionally and you meet, like that one day that you meet, that friend date that you meet. Sometimes it's going to be slightly awkward beginnings because, like I said, it's completely normal. I don't think every interaction is perfect. I believe like sometimes it's awkward, like sometimes you can end up getting off on the wrong foot, and then the more you like talk it out with the person, then you get to see, oh, like we have something in common. But it's not always like that, in terms of it not being awkward. And I think we have to allow it. We have to allow ourselves to just make mistakes and be imperfect. Who wants to be in a perfect friendship? Like I think it's important to have friendships where it's just authentic and people being themselves. Um and also it's like when I talk about giving people a fair chance, it's just going beyond what you think of them. Like sometimes prejudge people, and I was guilty of this. Like you would prejudge people and you'd be like, oh, they can never be my friend or something like that, or you're like, oh, I don't see them as your friend. But I find like just giving them a chance, like giving people a chance, sometimes could let you get to know someone who you may have never been friends with before. And I think a lot of people tend to do that. Like we tend to stick to our own things that we're comfortable with, and it's important that we don't do that. Like don't have any preconceived notions of how your friends should look. Like, believe it or not, people sometimes based on looks or how they should act. Like, you just go in saying, "Hey, I want to get to know the person." Like, and so this is why I would lead into saying, like, don't dismiss new people too quickly or assume people don't like you. I think that's the biggest thing. Okay, don't assume that people don't like you. Um, and give it time for friendships to develop. Like sometimes you're not going to get that closeness right away, right? But you have to give it time. Like it's like right now, it's funny enough. I'm making a new friend right now. We haven't necessarily met yet, but we met like through a Facebook group, like in Toronto. And right now, we've been just sending voice chats. So I would say we talk fairly almost every day. And it's been interesting because we start to get to know each other and you can see it slowly building. Like we're starting to talk to each other every day. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, let me call her. And don't worry guys, we've bought tickets and stuff to go places, so we do plan to meet this month. But I think it was interesting because we just started talking, and then one day there was a pause in between, like a gap where we didn't talk for a while, and then we started talking again because we had some type of miscommunication because we're supposed to meet at an event. It didn't happen. I did talk about it in a previous video. And then we just started talking more, and I'm starting to like learn more about her. And I remember thinking like this is how it should be. You should just let it gradually take its course, but also be open, respond to messages in a timely manner. Like don't be waiting like 5 days to respond, right? Like obviously not right away because you probably have a life to live, but just doing those things would help so much. And what's important is there's balance. Like you're not ignoring red flags, and you're not chasing people, right? And you're allowing space for it to just blossom. And when I say chasing people, this is very key. I think people spend so much time chasing people that don't like them. Like be reciprocal and talk to people who you see are making effort to speak with you, right? And that want to be around you. I think that's just so important. And the next question would be is are you giving yourself a fair chance? Right? So I understand like sometimes you're tired, we may have a full day. You may be just rebuilding your life or you may be just working on stuff, have goals, whatever that is, okay? But I feel like sometimes we let those things hold us back. Um, and we tell ourselves these like I unfortunately are excuses like, oh, I'm too busy or I'm not available. But then there's a part of you that's like, well, I want to make new friends. And it gets to the point where you have to get in a space where you're uncomfortable. Like you're not gonna always be comfortable, right? Like I think this is important. Like I think sometimes we think that when we're making friendships, we're gonna be in this comfortable space, and it's not. Like it may require you to be tired after work and go to the thing that dinner that you guys promised that you're going to do, right? And sometimes it's thinking about the outcome, right? So like there's we have this thing called Summerlicious in Toronto where basically like restaurants come up with a set menu, and you pay like a fixed rate, so it'll be like $30, $40 or depending. And there was a part of me that wanted to cancel for this Friday, and I was like, oh, I could probably do it in my own time. But then there was something that reminded me there's something about getting together with a group of people, okay? And you're sharing a common thing, and you always learn something new about a person. You meet new people. It's an opportunity to meet new people, put yourself out there, and you're doing something that's against the grain. Like, I would probably rather do something else. Like, I don't want to say like that. Like, I would have probably done it a little bit earlier. That's what I mean. I would have probably done a dinner a little bit earlier because it would be cheaper, and there would be no added fees on there. But then I was like, okay, but this is a great opportunity to take a lot of pictures and just vibe and get along with people. I think that's so important. Um, and then Another thing is like you have to be honest with yourself and say like, why are you avoiding people if you have the opportunities? Why do you keep on canceling? Like, what are you scared of? Are you avoiding being vulnerable because maybe you've had a bad experience in the past? Like, this is real, guys. Like, this is some real stuff, right? So you have to ask yourself those questions. It's just you can't want deep friendships without making space for it. It just doesn't work. Like it's one or the other. And are you actually available for the friendships you want? So if you know you're absolutely busy, like be busy. But like don't be trying to be busy and then make excuses for not making the effort when like a friendship, potential friendship comes your way. Like if you're busy, stay busy. Like don't even open that door. But if you're telling yourself, I want to open that door and make friendships, like commit to it, right? Don't use those excuses. Like if you're busy, fine, right? And but you open that door, you're gonna have to find some time and figure it out, right? And say, okay, this is my schedule. And usually people will work around it, right? Especially if it's abnormal. Like people will work around it. Like one time I was going to work in the evening and someone wanted to go tennis and I said, hey, like I can't go in the evening, but I'm willing to go in the day. And I knew this person was available in the day. So we ended up actually going before work. And then like and it was so fun. The tennis like session was so fun. But like I still made time. I had the choice to be like, I don't want to do anything because I'm going to work, right? Um, and the next thing was like, are you sabotaging opportunities, right? Are you saying no to every invite? Are you not following up after meeting someone? Are you waiting for others to initiate? Like, we need to stop doing that and thinking that everyone has to wait. Like, thinking everyone has to plan the thing for you to go. I'm actually seeing this right now in a circle I'm in where I'm not necessarily going to this, but they're going somewhere out of Toronto. And what I discovered is people were depending on other people to basically plan out their rides. And I thought this was interesting because I was like, well, if you see multiple people like looking for rides, why wouldn't you initiate and figure it out? But instead of just choosing to like sell their tickets, right? But I think it's important that we're not depending on other people to get you to places. You're not depending for other people to make things happen when it comes to friendships. Um, so I'm gonna stop this there because there's actually two more points, and I think I'm gonna continue this. There's actually three more points. I'm gonna actually continue this tomorrow, and I'm gonna jump on and continue this conversation. But this was a really good conversation so far about friendships and like what are you doing, like how to navigate it around when you're busy, tired, and you're maybe starting fresh and starting over. But we're gonna finish this conversation tomorrow. I thought it was a great conversation today, and I liked how people jumped in. I think it was awesome to see your vulnerabilities, and I appreciate that. And as always go to the description. There's a fun research journal in there that I think you'll enjoy. But we're gonna end it here for now, and continue tomorrow for part two.